Very early on in Stereogram, we learned about the mullet and how to respect the mullet. And we wrote the song all about it. What's the song called, Tyson?
This song's called White Trash. You know what the means, it's how the life is why I start to rip on the shake. Move your face, big quick, crazy, drive around and round. But you would be as proud as your sound for the sound. Well, I got my whole and I'm ready to go. The note is current stolen. I'm consistent, my dome, man. You might think I'm crazy. My brain is threatened. You don't listen, I'm back to way through white trash. Cause I'm white trash, so don't you know what I am. You wanna see white trash, so you're white trash. Cause I'm white trash, so don't you know what I am. You wanna see white trash, so you're white trash. Cause I went to school at 12, I couldn't handle those letters. And so I started my career down at my uncle's Scott Records. Singing you ahead to got a jet back. Well, it showed on the top and it's a line at the back. Well, I got my hair up, I went really down. Cause roll out, show them later what I'm all about. All my jeans come in all colors, none of the back. Roll out, show the world, but out to white trash. Cause I'm white trash, so what you know what I mean? White trash, so you're white trash. Cause I'm white trash, so what you know what I mean? Wanna see white trash, so you're white trash. Cause I'm white trash, so what you know what I mean? Wanna see white trash, so you're white trash. Cause I'm white trash, so what you know what I mean?
Hello, how are you? Welcome to another Kiwis and comic books, celebrating all the best and upcoming and past history of New Zealand creativity. Some of which I have in my hand, like this Blastosaurus I bought probably about 2013, 14 maybe earlier than that. You can check it out. Hopefully this website is still up and running. So, you know, I'm looking forward to tonight because we're talking about one of our legendary greats, Martin Emonds. I always thought it was Edmonds, so I always, you know, whenever I look online, I'm always like going, Edmonds, Martin Edmonds. And I was like, do you mean this guy? I'm like, no, I mean, oh, okay, I better put in comics. And it's like, oh, you mean Martin Emonds. So while we wait for Rex, we're going to go through what really this big controversy that happened with Martin, and that has to do with this video right here. I'm going to turn off the. I'm going to talk over the top of it because I don't want to get copyright strike. But this is a kind of like a scene for scene from a comic book, and I'll show the art soon, from White Trash by Martin Emonds. Looks like it's going to be 5 minutes late. That's all right. We'll see Rex soon. Now, so the thing here is that when you first see it, and if you have no idea who Martin Emonds was, and if you weren't into comic and you weren't into comic art, especially comic art, right, you would go, oh, this is amazing. This is a, amazing sort of like, take on this, kind of like imagination, artistry for Pink video. Pink at that time was on top of the world, right? I mean, my friends were playing her, covering her songs live here, in the local taverns. And so I think it was RSB, Rip, Shit, or Bust. I think that was the name of the band, RSB. And so it was kind of strange then to suddenly see this appear in news, popping off. Oh, look at this. That's just great. What an amazing video. Artistry and stuff like that. What an amazing little, thing that's, she's done. Her director must be amazing to come up with this concept of, this, what we call bad girl look, right, in comics. The whole creativity and all that behind it. But then comes the controversy, which is that this work is lifted from a comic book by a New Zealand artist who died very young, and you know, if he was alive today, he would be the legend of legends for Kiwi, and there are many Kiwi legends, right? I mean, but this and you'll see why I'd say that, because he's worked with some of the greats that are legends of comics, especially with the UK, with Glenn Danzig, with his Veritech imprint, and stuff. So he's worked with a few very, at a very young age, he was doing amazing work. And there is I think it's illicit clothing line that features his work. His friends, basically continued on that work. And it was just, so for us Kiwis at that time, this is like in the 90s. So for us, we're like shaking our heads going, how could someone who is a multi-millionaire, basically think they could do that to someone here in New Zealand? And of course, I mean, I've spoken about how it's happened to me with my script, right? With my story idea, my concept, my premise. That was, there was, executives looked over and decided they didn't want, yet they went to make 2 movies, one in New Zealand, one in Australia, based off my concepts, my ideas. But it was part of my red dot comic story, which was about, and it was a very deep and interesting, because one of them, it had to deal with like military, and had to do with like what happens to people after the military, those who can cope and those who can't cope when they go through all that stuff. One of them doesn't know how to, doesn't cope, and what do people do with that? And also there's a romance story, and all this stuff going through, and we're highlighting New Zealand and stuff like that. So it was quite, it's not like I don't understand it from a personal level. I understand it from a personal level when it comes to stuff like, being seen as, they're just over there, nobody's going to notice. And so the director or the producer or the cinematographer, whoever came up with the idea and put it in front, basically kind of took panel for panel, scene for scene, right? For the white trash, sorry, not white trash, from the white trash comic to the, let me just bring this up so you can see the work, to the artwork that was in there. So one of the things there is that we got him.
I'm here.
Yeah. We got him late.
Apologies, fashionably late. How we going? All right, man.
Hey, we're on internet time, not Fiji time.
Fair, loud. Heard you loud and clear. Hear you loud and clear. All right, let's get into it. Straight into it.
Yeah, let's go, man. So, before we do this, I just realized I should put on the news item that covered this, and it is here. And so this is like, it's off TV. Somebody recorded off TV, and I'm grateful for that. So this is, this is very old. It's 15 years old, right? And sadly, it's only hit 305 views.
Yeah.
And nobody liked it. So I, put a like on it, because I'm searching for information. So I find information.
Sure.
And X Misery Boutique X. So looks like this person's a clothing person, right? And of course, not much about it, but just tells you here, Pink uses Marty Emonds artwork without permission in her new video, You and Your Hand, right? So that's the information there. So let's have a watch of this video, and I'm going to leave hopefully the news.
Just a little factoid. I don't know if it is the Misery Boutique, but Misery Boutique is like a real famous New Zealand artist. If you Google Misery Boutique, you'll be able to you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Like real iconic designs. I think sort of maybe I could be wrong. Misery Boutique, don't sue me, but I'm pretty sure sort of ran into financial trouble. But sort of in the mid 2000s was very, very popular. Very
So Tanya
really
McMillan,
great illustrations.
Because you're from
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, you're from Auckland, right? Or you used to be from Auckland, right?
Yeah. She used to have like a little kind of like store on K Road. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I will have.
Queen's
I've got
Arcade
that up,
maybe,
and so thank you for that, because I've got it up, and I'll bring it up after we watch this. But that is cool. I mean, like, that's the thing. See, like, when you're a small-time artist, or I mean, not small-time artist, but if you're a small artist coming from a small country like New Zealand, you got to stick together to back each other up. And I don't mean that, like, you know, just because he's in trouble now, we got no. Creatively, you got to back each other up, because if you don't, then they'll just target you next. You don't know. And they'll take your work. And I've had a person, kind of acquaintance of mine, and we used to live together and everything when we were at art school. One of his art pieces was stolen and being sold, I think, for $60 and printed on a T-shirt around the world.
Wow,
right. Maori design artwork from here, like just over here, like 2 miles on the road. And so, and I was like, hey, come on my show and talk about it. Let people know, because what's going on.
I think that's a pretty big issue nowadays. You know how you've got, I forgot what the there's one big sort of online store that does it, where you basically, normally what you would do is you'd go to like a, T-shirt printer and get T-shirts produced, but you can simply just upload the design to online, and then they sort of do 90% of the print work and what have you for you. But I think that I think that's a big issue with those. That's a pretty popular sort of business model now. I think that's a big problem, because you simply just have to take the design, upload it. They're not going to screen it or check that you've made it or what have you. And next minute, people are buying it for, like you said, $50-$60, and they were very profitable.
Yeah, I mean, the thing here with that one was with Victor's work was that it was I don't know where he put it up, but it was a Chinese company that did it. And he traced it all the way back to it. So it wasn't just somebody just putting it on a T-shirt for themselves. It was to mass manufacture it and make profit off it. Like, these are T-shirts you can just like buy for $2, right? And then they put the print on it. Now it's $60. So that's like, and so the other thing, I've actually got something about NFTs about that as well, with a Kiwi music person, right? A musician.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. So I just thought, like, when I was looking for this, it was like, oh, now it's NFTs. Before it was like, comic books, then actual paintings, and now NFTs. So see how it's like, as technology changes, so does the thieving and the copyright. Not the copyright, but the actual art theft changes as well.
Becomes easier. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So let me bring this up so we can have a look at this. This is the one that we, the news item, right?
Pink's in town and Steve Hodge wants a word. He's hoping to confront her while she's here. He says she's used his dead business partner Martin Emonds' artwork in her latest video clip.
It's pretty obvious that it was a complete knockoff of Martin's artwork. The Rocker Biker Girl character, she's got the Corona helmet on, the same as the hairdo's the same, she's got the tattoos, but really what gives it away is this character on the punching bag. She's pretty much even in the same stance.
Wow, yeah.
She's sucking on a lollipop in one of the scenes, which she is in the painting as well.
Steve Hodge first saw the clip last year and he used the images without permission.
Acknowledge the guy, show some respect.
Seen here in an amateur video, Marty Emonds took an active interest in the development of other young artists.
Always last minute, no matter how long you plan it for, 6 months, a year, every minute.
Now Martin Emonds' estate hopes the pop star will stump up with some cash for using his work. Any money would help New Zealand's up-and-coming artists.
The focus of the estate is to continue the legacy of Martin's work, the return on that, going in some young artists who may be in a similar situation to what Martin was.
Pink has responded in an email saying she hopes her video helps give recognition to Martin, but her comments haven't satisfied the estate.
While she's subsequently recognised they're Marty's works and expressed her admiration for it, that's not the right order of things in dealing with copyrights.
In the end, Steve Hodge hopes it doesn't turn into a legal battle. All he wants is recognition for his best friend.
He's just a lovely guy, just always stick up for the little guys.
Now Steve Hodge says it's his turn to stick up for Marty. Lisa Glass, One News.
So, yeah, so that was 15 years ago that was that was on the news. And I guess I mean, it might. I wonder if it is from 2000 because I think, you know, because it could be from older, right? The video itself could be older, and Misery could have put it up later. So let me chase up like when her video actually got.
Right, I was just about to Google that. I mean, that's yeah. I mean, I was. I mean, let's just take a step back a little bit because I didn't know who Martin Eman was until you said, "Hey, we're going to do an episode on it." You know, so I've been researching the last week, sort of researching him, what have you. I didn't know how influential he was, you know, what have you. So, you know, I did see that on Wikipedia, and I thought, well, how egregious could it be? You know, if you are a video, you know, unless you're, well, and I was going to say, unless you're sort of taking the images and putting them in the background, what does that look like? And there you are. It's pretty egregious, really, isn't it? So, yeah, it's an interesting one. If someone's sort of dressing up as a character, you know, is that transformative enough? Maybe not. I don't know. That's a tough.
Well, I mean, there is the cosplay thing out of it, like, but this is a multi-millionaire. Yeah. At that time, she was raking the damn thing in. You know, people were covering her artwork, and I mean, covering her music, right? So she would have copyright, you know, issues with people covering without, you know, using her work without actually giving a payment. But then she just turns around and does it to somebody else because, hey, we won't know who that. Nobody will know who that is. Yeah, you know?
And to be fair to her, it's probably not Pink, right? It's probably the person that shot the videographer, some, you know, artist who should know better, you know. But he goes, oh well, you know, no one in the pop industry will know who this is.
Knows, right? Even that guy knows that because everybody who's kind of that level has done some study on copyright and what can
someone somewhere should know better. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. It may not necessarily be Pink, but it's, you know, yeah.
Well, when we're on a film set, we have to, you know, basically, even when we're doing short film, you have to go and get their signature. Say, hey, are you okay with us using your likeness, your voice, your imagery, or whatever for future, you know, implementations? Like maybe later on we'll change things here. See, like I mean, I made my comic based off my, you know, the first one we actually put out, based off screenshots from my actual student film. So I had to, you know, when we did and it's locked up somewhere, all this paperwork, right? So, you know, did stuff like that, you know, so shots like that from when I was filming, and then I went over it and, you know, basically almost like traced it, but if it wasn't tracing, because it took me, if I traced it, it would have been like friggin' so easy, but I didn't. I actually drew it, redrew it.
No, I mean, we were talking about using a light box with Shane Evans, you know, I think that's sort of a big part of the industry, you know, if you've got sort of a unique angle or something sort of esoteric that you need to draw, you know, take a photo of it, chuck it on the light box, you know, and I think that's, you know, as long as it's transformative, you know, I don't think that's too much of an issue. And if you're taking the photography, I mean, yeah, you can copy your own photos. It's just a problem when you copy someone else's, you know. Yeah. I mean, just going back to that Pink, you know, video. I mean, you know, that's how influential this guy was, Marty Eman. You know, this is what I've sort of discovered recently. Yeah. And it was funny, right? Because I'd seen White Trash in passing, but I didn't know who had drawn it. I think I assumed it was an American artist. You know, this guy, and then when you sort of go, oh, it's done by a New Zealander, isn't it? You know, this is who he is. You go, oh, okay, I see a little bit of Martin in a bunch of places in New Zealand. You know, he's so influential. You know, that's you know, that style that just can't be imitated. You know, I mean, this, you know, super influential. You know, trendsetter. Yeah, so you just see little bits of him everywhere. You know, he's sort of sewn himself into sort of the New Zealand kind of you know, gene sequence. You know what I mean? It's been crazy. You know.
Yeah, he's definitely part of the New Zealand's DNA, and that's why, you know, I thought it would be, you know, do this because it's important to, you know, highlight our legends and our icons because otherwise, you know, it gets kind of like, it's only the Americans or the Europeans and so on, and manga and all that. But one thing, like, you know, it's good to showcase what our amazing creatives are doing here, and to highlight who they are and what has been their influence around the world. So
sure.
I'm gonna put up artwork that even, like, you know, the company that I'm part of, publisher, I should say. Last year I interviewed one of the folks that I'm just moving over a file. Sorry, sometimes the screens shows up somewhere else, and it did it again. I'll give you 1 sec. Doesn't want to come over, and it's basically this little piece of work that, and when I was looking at it, I thought, like, oh man, because I was interviewing the guy, right? And I said, hey, this looks like one of our Kiwi artists. Yeah. And,
Wellington breeze through the window. There you go.
Yeah, I had the whole door open because it was just so sweaty. Because I'm wearing this because just before it's like doing the dishes and vacuuming, and I was like sweat was just pouring. So check this out. All right, this is the influence for an American artist, you know, who's older right now, right? He's alive now, and I mean not alive. What I mean by that, I mean that he is, you know, working now and so on. So large enough. What happened there? Excuse me. I've got full screen on mine, but hold on. It's showing me that it's not full screen for you.
Just
guys.
as an FYI, I'm not bowing my head. I've got a really weird setup where my webcam is very high, my screen's very low, so I'm not bowing at you. I'm looking at what you're showing me.
That's fine. It's like I've got the same thing. It's over here for me, and I'm looking over here because
I look at you like, how do you look at this? It's so seamless, and I'm over here like, you know.
Yeah, no, it's. I've been messing around with this for an hour almost, trying to fix the setup.
Gotcha.
So let me. How do I escape this? Let me see if I can escape this out here. There we go.
I mean, let me. I wanted to start off by asking you. I mean, obviously you picked Man Eamon for a reason.
Sure.
Aaron. This is. I mean, I guess this is going to be the format of of this Friday sort of episode type thingy, where we're highlighting one particular artist or one particular subject, and then we do a deep dive, right? So, I mean, what I want, you know, like I said, I didn't know who he was a week ago. You know, when you said, "Hey, we're doing Man Eamon," before that, I didn't know who he was. You've obviously picked him for a reason, so I wanted to know sort of what he meant to you. And then you know, let's start a conversation from there.
Let me try to fix this screen first, and then I'll see what I can do with this because it's annoying me that I'm not able to. There we go. Are you able to see that?
No.
Here we go.
Oh, I can. Something's popping
there
up.
We go.
Yeah.
All right. Let me. So, just like I think for me, it's the fact that he was such a. He had his own style, right? That's what it really comes down to. He got it. He had his own style, and I shouldn't be actually putting this up here. I should be actually putting up his work. So I'm going to, you know, show you his work. So this is, so you know why, you know, he's just so like he's so loose, and like everybody has their own style. And I think Martin, and I wish, you know, I can't even. I'm kicking myself because over all this years that I haven't actually owned a Martin Edmond work, right? And so it's really hard to come by. I'm hoping that by showing this, and I posted this earlier on the comic, New Zealand Comics and Creatives page, and I just said, look, the hope of this is that they re-release and reprint all the issues of his work so that we can, and maybe it's already out, right? And that we can revisit his work and re-own his work again. That, you know, people around the world can actually see how great he was, and that I can get, you know, comics and hardcovers, whatever, of his work, because then I can come up here and go, hey, I actually own this. Because it's, I think we often celebrate overseas artists in the sense that they're there, they have a name, but we don't celebrate ours because they're here, you know. But we don't see their influences around the world, you know. And I mean, he's worked with people like gosh, we talked about, who was it last week? Simon Beasley. He did covers for him, right? Yeah. He worked with Glenn Danzig for his Veritech imprint, you know, and it's just the way his art style is just amazing, you know. It's, you look at
that logo. That logo is out the gate, you know. That's incredible. Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. Simon Beasley created Lobo, right? And then it went over to the US, and now it's part of the DC universe. But he created, you know, so his work first started appearing in British comic publishers who were thirsty for comic book artists whose art was like Simon Beasley, who was just blown away. Everybody with the Horn God, right? That's the one that I mentioned last week, which I need to get again because that was one of my favorite when I was, I guess, in my 20s, 2080 comic book with Simon Beasley, right? The Horn God was amazing. Let me just pop something up here. And remind me to go back to Tanya with the boutique thing. So otherwise we'll forget to mention Tanya. And her.
That's just a little factoid. She's a pretty influential artist in her own right. I just thought it was like, it's like if I don't know, you know, Ben Stenbeck posted that video. You know what I mean? Like it's like, hey, that's, you know, kind of strange. Yeah, I think he was. I think I could be wrong, but he was at 2000 AD at a very young age, right? Like very young. Like I think
he passed away at a very young age. That's the thing. He passed away at a very young age, and you know, it was just so. And that's the loss to us. And that's the thing, right? It's a loss to us, and not. And I don't mean like that. You know, I mean it's a loss to his family and his friends, but it's a loss to us as artists and creatives from New Zealand. Right, it's a loss to us as New Zealand creative and New Zealand as a country, because we lost someone so young, and you know, and it's such a, you know, I mean, now
we were going to have to broach this subject at some point. Like, you know, I mean, you're right. He died very young. I don't think we can talk about how he died on here without getting in trouble, and YouTube doesn't like it very much.
I think
if you have any interest, go, it's out there. It's on the internet. But I mean, I was, because like I said, I didn't know who he was, so I was sort of last week sort of going, well, how am I going to talk to this guy? This has happened. The thing that sort of I was sort of humming and hawing about was you could arguably make you could make the argument that his success had something to do with his passing. So it was like he's both sort of this inspirational kind of figure where he's this, you know, top-notch S-tier artist, super influential, you know, can draw the you know, around anyone. But then he's sort of like, you know, when he was finding all the success, when he was sort of getting, you know, signing Hollywood deals for character he was making, he said that it was making him miserable, you know, and he suffered from depression, and you know, so I was sort of going, well, you know, he is an inspirational figure, but then you also kind of go, well, the heights he got to sort of, you know, played a part in him. You know, in passing. So I was, you know, I don't know. I don't even know how to sort of broach that subject. You know, he is sort of a tragic figure. You know, from what I can gather. You know, he's so talented, and you know, he had these sort of things he struggled with. You know,
so this Accident Man, right? The artwork, right? So Accident Man is actually a oh, can't even grab that. It's a movie now, right? And so, so they turned that comic book recently. Like I think there's part 2 now, or it's already come out. Sequels come out. So let me bring that up so you can see. I can't remember who wrote the series, but like Accident Man.
Oh, hey, look at that! Yeah,
2018, and there is a. Let me bring it up here. And it's a good movie, by the way. I enjoyed it. I thought it was quite cool. So this is, you know, a Pat Mills, and the artist on that, of course, is Martin Emonds.
So he did sort of a run with Accident Man. Okay.
Yeah. So Pat Mills, wrote this character, and
So you're watching a trailer, right? You want to know what the movie's about? Well, allow me to explain. The name's Fallon, and I'm an assassin. Yeah, I know. You've already seen all the assassin movies.
And Scott Adkins, super
I like
famous
Scott.
man. Yeah.
Scathed? Oh, don't bruise easy. See, everyone's got a gimmick. Carnage Cliff, he's a butcher. Specializes in severed heads and chopped off limbs. Mick and Mac, ex-Special Forces. Turbocharged Soldiers of Fortune. Jane the Ripper. She's the honey trap killing machine. And Poison Pete. Well, you can work that one out for yourself, can't you? And as for me, well, I make them look like accidents. Everyday, ordinary accidents. But now I've got a problem. You see, the love of my life just turned up in a box 6 feet under, and I'm certain that it was one of my crew that put her there.
She was pregnant.
But which one of these wankers did it? I'm going to find out. And when I do, there'll be a few more fatal accidents around the corner.
You got some balls on you, don't you?
Yeah. So, his work is now, and Pat Mills, right? And this, the writer. So this is the character there. Accident Man and, Blockhead, Crabbit, Snappit, it's just his style of work is very sort of fluid, and, the line work is thick and thin, and it's just, it's a very punk kind of artwork, right? Fanzine style, or zine style, I should say, something like that, right? And it's sort of like, you're sort of doing stuff that's not your standard American style,
Right.
And it's stuff, that you'd see in a zine, but in that's something a bit more fluid, right? It's like there, and it's not like hours and hours work spent on it, even though you probably did, but it looks like it's quick. And I think, if you really think about it, I don't know if I can be right about this, maybe, but I think he would be around about Shane's age now,
Right.
And my age, and so he'll be our contemporary. And it's just, I just miss the fact that we won't see some of his current work, we'll never see his future work. And that's the
Right.
tragedy of like having lost artists at young age and stuff like that. So let me just come down this page a bit more. This is the one that I'm after, right? It's like, just, you can see how, this is what I mean by punk art, right? It's not like your average Western art style, or even British art style, UK or European art style. It kind of feels like this is a unique New Zealand style, right? It's very in your face, it's over the top, and it's very, aggressive, right? There's no sort of like tame down of the artwork. It's in your face, like you look at down here, you look at the lettering and stuff, the sign here getting smashed through. The way everything here works is very, everything's done for a reason there. It's not just there for the sake of just, it's there. Everything is used to, fully, there's, it's kind of hard to express, because it's like, everything is so, so in your face. It's the easiest way I can put it. Punk, that's punk, right? So this is White Trash with Gordon Rennie, who's a British writer, a comic book writer, with created many titles for 2000 AD and stuff. It's one of the main writers over there. And of course, Chopper. If I remember right, that's Chopper. Yeah, that is Chopper. Chopper used to be one of my favorite 2000 AD characters. It's this. The funny thing is that Chopper is part of the Australia megacity, in the whole 2000 AD Judge Dredd thing. He's a guy who surfs on a skateboard, and it's like a computerized, not like a techno motorized skateboard, surfboard. Sorry, and so I still love that. And he also worked for Marvel Comics as well. So this was what is that, Woodstock collector's edition. So this is Woodstock 1969, 1970, 1994. I think that's the yeah, that would be the commemoration of the 1994 event, right?
Right.
Yeah. So look, I mean, that's just pretty awesome. This is from Lobo, right, from 2000 AD, before he got introduced to DC and stuff and became their mainstay. And now Lobo's actually in the animations as well as the comic books, and now he's going to be a standalone movie, if I remember right, with Jason.
Yeah, they're talking about Jason Momoa being Lobo, which is sort of a little confusing. He's Aquaman, but it is what it is, I guess. So Lobo started off as a 2000 AD character, is it? That's news to me. That's crazy. I mean, this was another one of his characters, Switchblade, that he was sort of actively shopping around to get turned into a like a cartoon, like an animated series, and that's sort of, I think, what he was kind of working on before he passed, was sort of trying to get this sort of signed, and made into a cartoon. So this is sort of another one of his sort of like iconic characters,
Yeah, you can't miss it, right? You can recognize this if if you're in New Zealand art scene, you would know straight away this is one of his characters.
Yeah,
and it's just just the hairstyle, the eyes, just everything is just so unique to him. So
yeah, absolutely.
Now, what is this one from? So this is X-Men art again, and of course we just saw that movie there, but I want to show you. Oh gosh, a bigger image of this cover to Lobo that he worked on. They don't even do it right. Hold on. Yeah, it's not really giving me what I want here, but let me just pop back up here.
Well, let's maybe we'll circle around back to that. But I mean, another thing I don't think I realized as well is that he was a founder of illicit clothing, which if you're overseas, you might not be too familiar with, but a very sort of kind of influential kind of homegrown clothing brand here. In New Zealand, he was one of sort of the founding artists. So I get as soon as I started researching him, it's like, oh, he's all of a sudden, it's like when you buy like a Labrador, and then you see everyone's got a Labrador all of a sudden. You know what I mean? I forgot what that phenomenon's called, but same sort of thing. You start like researching him, and he's like, oh, I see Martin Emond everywhere. You know what I mean? Like he's like I said, he's just sewn himself into sort of the, out New Zealand's makeup.
So
it's,
is this the one you're thinking about?
So this is illicit clothing. It might be a little bit hard. I mean, if you type in Martin Emond illicit, he will come up. But this is the brand. This is the brand that you're talking about. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So it's 1996, yeah.
See, hopefully I can spell it right. Here we go. This is it. Remove that. Get rid of that. Oh man. And here we are. Artist Martin Emond illicit. So I'll grab the link so you guys can check that out as well if you're watching us with us.
So this is, I mean, this is some of the imagery that Pink sort of took and put her in her video. That first one on the left there is sort of, So again, I think another, another thing that people got to understand is that he wasn't just a comic book artist. He was, just a straight out the gate, illustrator, and he, he could draw he could draw his pants off. He was very, very good, drawer and painter. Very, very multi-talented and very marketable as well. I mean, you look at all these characters. There's Switchblade there again.
Yeah.
So So yeah.
I mean, this is like, you know, Crossbones. Just like the amount of, you know, work on it. Is this the one you're talking about? Like how he was looking at doing like animation with this?
Yeah. So Switchblade. I think was. I mean, I don't know. He might have had more, but Switchblade was sort of one of the characters that he was sort of shopping around, and I believe he had a deal signed just before he passed. To have it turned into a cartoon. I don't know if that materialized or what happened, but you know, he was saying I don't know how truthful it is, but I was reading an article about sort of you know, maybe someone close to him saying that, you know, he was shopping as these characters around, and that you know, the sort of the false promises of Hollywood executives were sort of taking the wind out of his sails pretty significantly. You know, he was doing him pretty rough. So yeah, I mean, incredibly prolific, and like you said, you know, it is important to sort of spotlight these figures that do get to this level. You know, no matter how tragic it is. You know, because half sort of if you don't see anyone that looks like you, you know, talks like you, doing it, you know, it's not impossible, you know, but you know, it certainly helps, you know. It's funny. I was watching an interview. You know who Wee Man is from Jackass? Yeah. He was talking about how, like, you know, the young skateboarders nowadays, how much better they were as sort of kids, you know. And it's like, well, they have the internet. They can see all of this stuff that's possible, you know. Exactly. No one knew you could spin around on a skateboard, you know, 900 degrees until Tony Hawk did it. Everyone thought it was impossible. And now people are doing 1080s and more, you know. So it's, you know, instilling that sort of level of belief is very important.
Right. So there's a Tony Hawk story because I used to be a skateboarder when I was a kid, well, in my teens, and you know, it was one of the first presents I actually got when I came to New Zealand from my dad. You know, one of those little I don't know what they're called, those little plastic skateboards with rubber wheels.
Oh yeah, I'm with you.
You know, and
like
and so yeah. Let me just pop that away. So. And myself away as well. Hold on, what's going on here? There we go. So Tony Hawk, like these guys approached Tony Hawk to do, you know, the 900. And the thing was that he said, this is how much it's going to cost, $100,000 for me to do that stunt, right? And they said, oh, they went away and got somebody else. Because, you know, how much can you do for? I'm not going to do it. He said, what's that? Because he's the only one who can do it.
Right.
Nobody else can do that. You know, nobody else can do that. So why would, and but the other thing is, like, anybody else would probably kill themselves or injure themselves massively trying to do it because they're not up to that level of Tony Hawk. That's why Tony Hawk's a legend, just like Martin Emonds, right? Because they're at their game. They're at the top of the game. And so I think a lot of people don't realize that why certain people get more money than them. They do because they're able to do certain work that they can't. And I think that's a lot of times, even in art, a lot of people come in and go, hey, you know, I want this much. I want this much. And you're like going, you don't even know how to do that. Right. and so I have to, you know, do this and do this with you. And you're demanding that much money that I don't have to do anything with anybody else. Right. I just go, here it is. And then they do it. But with you, I got to hold your hand or whatever, you know? So it's, you know, it's like, well, I'm the greatest, but really you're not, because it's, you've got to be able to you know, sort of equalize work and sort of, that's why when we look at Martin Emonds with his work, you know, he's created a body of work at such a young age that we still appreciate and still look up to and recognize as work that, you know, was massive. You know, he just basically got headhunted out of New Zealand to work in UK, right, and then work in Marvel, and DC now owns one of the arts that he created, you know, artwork that he created, which is Lobo, right? So I don't know what the deal with you know, with Pat Mills was with Lobo and stuff, and how that logo ended up there, you know. Or was it? No, it wasn't Pat Mills. It was Simon Beasley, right? So how it ended up actually in Disney and became, you know, and next year
he's DC. He's owned by DC, right?
Yeah, yeah. So they've got like, I mean, it wasn't DC. Lobo, I always knew Lobo, if I remember, over at UK, and suddenly was over there, and you know, it was kind of a shock. But here's the thing: next year, everybody will be trying to, and it probably people are now as well, right? Trying to find out who, you know, who Lobo is, and then when you find out, then they go, "Ah, who's this Martin Emonds character?" Right?
Right.
He did the artwork and all this. Oh, these are the comics. These are off, and then you find that this is a cover, and then you, and that, just like, you know, just like you had, right? Who is this? And people who are new to, who only, you know, been around for the last 20 years, right? Or the 25, whatever, you know, since he passed away, wouldn't have a clue. And yet now, because of Lobo, next year or year after, whatever, when they releases a movie, it'll become such a huge deal again. And it'll bring a lot more eyes to New Zealand creatives, and not to, you know, illicit would, you know, as well, and see his work. And that's why I'm really hoping that it blows up again, like his legacy blows up again, and there's more.
I think there's even an interview where he's talking about his white trash work, where it's like he's saying, "Oh well, it's almost more popular than it is now than when it first came out," and he was talking about his work sort of, you know, coming and going in waves. You know, it sort of comes into vogue, it goes out and underground, and then, you know, it springs back up. So, you know, you might be right. Who knows? You know, yeah, who knows? You know, it could sort of shine a spotlight on Martin's career. You know, I mean, when you know, when you're a trendsetter like that, you know, when you sort of yeah, when you're sort of breaking the mold. Yeah, I think this is the interview. Maybe I could be wrong, but you know, you make a mark, you know, and when you produce a product that no one else does, it's, you know, it's like you got to go to it. So, you know, it's like you said, it will come back into fashion, and, you know, who knows? Who knows? But I think this is the interview. Yeah, it's very short. Yeah, let's give it a listen.
Yeah, it's a look.
Yeah, that took like it's fully painted and took like.
No, it's on at the start. All right.
That took like it's fully painted and took like 17 months. It was really like, it was a hard project to do, but if you make something like quite a high quality and you put a lot into it, it lasts for more than 5 minutes. Like, I actually, like, white trash seems to be more popular now, and when it first came out, it seems to go through a waves kind of thing where it's popular, and then it kind of goes underground again, and then it comes back.
So what influences him?
Black and white photography or sculpture or painting, anything. Just have a look around, be open to anything, you know, to be influenced by anything, by furniture or architecture, you know, and just let it, you know, soak it all up as much as you can, and sooner or later it'll come back out of you.
That's cool. That's cool. I was gonna say, I mean, it reminds me of you know, that artist Kim Jong-gi, I think is how you say his Korean guy. It's either G or Gi, you know, and he sort of talked about sort of expanding his visual library. You know, he would just draw everything and anything, you know, and he would sort of do studies of different things, you know, and then he would sort of put that into his brain and then be able to bring it out at will, you know. So it's interesting that he sort of brings it up, that, you know, he's being inspired by furniture and architecture of all things. You're going to go, well, what does furniture have to do with comic books? You know, it's like, well, look, you might have to draw someone sitting on a couch at one point. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
So I think this is Misery
Yeah,
Boutique. Yeah.
So that's Tanya. Yeah, it'd be Tanya.
She's a very iconic look. I'll know exactly if it's her. She looks like her characters. It's sort of strange. Just.
So this is her work. So I'm just going to breeze past. This is the reason we bring this up is because she was the one who uploaded that the video about, you know, from the news.
I mean, if it's the person that I'm thinking of, you could do in like, I mean, I know this is about comics, but if we expanded it to artists, she would be up there. You know, I remember her being, yeah. So she, you know, I know her for drawing like these sort of little like kind of girl characters. You know.
Yeah. It's like Pacific Island style.
Yeah, sort of very kind of like Japanese, like very cartoony Japanese influence, sort of like Sailor Jerry type sort of tattoo style almost, like very graphic. Yeah. You know, like, but yes. That sort of stuff is like, yeah, right up her alley, you know. That's sort of, you know, those sorts of characters.
So here's the thing, right? So there is a Halbin, you know, you know, it's got nothing to do with nothing. But if I bring up this thing about Halbin, gosh, give me one sec, Halbin Hotel or something like, it just looked like it. The character kind of looks like that, but I'm not. I mean, whether it's, you know, inspired by her work or what. But let me just see, Halbin.
It's possible. I mean, she's, you know, again, sort of in the vein of, you know, she's a trendsetter. You know, I mean, yeah. Maybe there is a bunch of people who do artwork like this. You know, it's not my sort of bag. Maybe there is a 1,000 people, artists that are doing art like that, but I've not seen anyone do anything like that, you know, before or since, you know.
Yeah, so this is has been, like, I always thought it was Halbin because of Hal. Yeah. So, you know, you can see the artwork style like that, and it's kind of this character here.
I can see that.
That one there. So it's just sort of like, you know, the color and stuff, but this is animation, right? So animation is a different sort of thing to it. So if you look at that and you go back to the other one, kind of
there might be some influence there. I wouldn't put it, you know, I wouldn't be surprised.
But I think that's like the opposite of what I was trying to think. But like a lot of, I mean, the cool thing is that a lot of people don't realize the amount of work that goes into art. And so like Pink, even though she's an artist, should understand, you know, the work that goes into it.
Yeah.
You just don't take it without even, you know, and then after the fact, when you get caught, then you start going, oh, it's because I like this guy. You probably didn't even read who, you know, the comics or anything. You just got shown images and that's it, right?
Yeah.
And but I think for me, it's, you know, I love the fact that we've got so many New Zealand creatives around, and that there's so many different works out there, you know, that you can see that's available. I mean, this is just online just to show her work. I mean,
go click on art instead of the store. Click on art down the bottom.
Yeah, I was trying to, but it wasn't coming up. Maybe there's heaps of it and there's not, you know.
Let me see if I can find some. I mean, you're kind of taking the reins.
Yeah, I mean, if you can grab it, share with me and we'll attach it up here. But I mean, in the meantime, while you're doing that, I'll go back to looking at Emonds art.
I mean, that's just sort of like a sort of a fun sort of. I mean, this is.
Where's your link?
Yeah, this is the store that I remember seeing. I think this was in K Road. I forgot. There's like on K Road in Auckland. There is an arcade that goes into a park. It's pretty
nice. Yeah, I've been in there. That's pretty cool. I remember the last time I was there.
So this was. I don't think it's there anymore, but it used to be. Yeah. And this was sort of, you know. So she would have like T-shirts and like bunch of sort of merchandise. You could buy like massive canvases of these sorts of characters, you know. So I mean, again, so, you know, I'm trying to sort of
there you go. So that's what
buy up the threads a little bit, you know. Both of these artists, you know, are very. I mean, I don't know what these are. I don't think maybe this is just unrelated. It might be just sort of someone's inspiration board. Who knows? But you know, both sort of trendsetters, you know, and I mean, she was, you know, really successful, you know, and so was Martin. So, you know, if you strive to sort of you know, have something original that's your own, you know, there's only one place people can go to get that, and that's you, you know. So
that's it. I mean, that's what it really comes down to, you know. And like I remember what Shane was saying when it came down to his work, right? They were like, if you want like a person's their work, right? If you want that style, and you don't ask them to do something else, right? You don't go, hey, do it in the style of this, you know, or do that. Because when you approach me to write something, you'll get my way of writing something. You know, if you want Jim Lee to draw Batman, go ask that. You know, if you like Jim Lee's Batman, then go pay Jim Lee for that Batman. Like we're just talking about, you know, Tony Hawk, right? If you want that thing to be done, then you go see Tony Hawk. But I think, you know, well, I have my own art. Like when it comes to my art style, I do what I call neo-tribalism, right? When it comes to sculptures and stuff, that's what I call it, neo-tribalism. And I don't necessarily draw. I carve, right? I carve into pottery, clay, ceramics, and that's my thing. So if you see something like that, you don't come and ask me to do something like, say, Henry. I can't remember his name, but there's world famous sculptor whose name is Henry Matisse or something like that, or somebody else. You know, you don't ask me to do it in his style. Right. You might as well not approach me, because you ask me to do something that I am not good at. And not only that, it's going to drive me nuts trying to do it somebody else's way. So yeah, I've had Shane mention when people have come up to him and say, hey, can you do this in this style? And I'm like, and he tells them like, but why are you approaching me, right? And other artists think, if you want that, then go and ask them to do that. You know,
well, it's interesting. It's interesting because I mean, I'm not saying that how, you know, this is a super prolific opinion, but I'm starting to see more sort of the idea that a less emphasis on originality with artists. You know, like there's a couple of sort of artists that I kind of loosely follow on YouTube, and you know, a couple of them have sort of said, well, look, you know, originality isn't everything, you know, you know, use what works and what have you. And it's like, I can understand that sentiment, but to me, you know, originality is key, you know, or else, you know, like you said, if you're not doing something or trying to do something that, you know, anyone can do, then people will go to anyone, you know. It's like, well, why will they come to you? You know, you don't. If you have some sort of signature product that no one else can get, you know, I mean, that's style. You know, that's what style's about. You know, that's it. Without that, it's like, you know, you're just sort of a carbon copy of a, you know, what's on trend. You know. So yeah, I just want to sort of bring that up as these you know, we've covered sort of Misery and Martin Emond now. You know, both of these guys are you know, oh, Misery's a lady, but both of these guys are, you know, super original and made original and striking out on their own, you know, a massive part of their you know, their sort of art form, you know, their artwork. I mean, if you go a couple images back, that is the look that Pink stole, you know, a couple of images back.
But I was just thinking, like, if you look at this, right, One True Love and all this sort of style, I would say there's a couple people, if not many, around the world, or especially New Zealand, who have this tattooed on them, right? So
absolutely, without a doubt.
When somebody actually has an art on your body, on their body, that's the most. That's when you know you've arrived, right?
I mean, yeah, I mean, that's true. That's true. I don't know. Is this Martin Emond? I mean, I would say this stuff would be, I mean, this stuff is, you know, a little bit of a divorce from his sort of his comic artwork, and you could see that you know, it looks like tattoo stuff. He's obviously been influenced by. I forgot what his actual name is. I keep calling him Sailor Jerry, but I don't think that's his name.
Yeah, you talk about the guys from LA, like this, like the sailor tattoo work. You know, the sailors would get and all that, but also the Mexicans. Mexican.
Okay. Okay, that was his artist name. Okay, all right. So I'm not just I'm not showing my propensity for alcoholism. Okay, that's fair. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, you know, iconic. You know, I mean, he's another trendsetter, you know, massive sort of massively influential in the tattoo world, you know, sort of helped pioneer this style that you're seeing, you know, that's sort of very how would you even describe that aesthetic? I'm not sure, but
well, it's punk. It's like what we call like fluid punk, zine style, you know, flash art. You know, not trying to demean that work. I'm just trying to say that's what I would think that is. But it's like a stylized cartoon work, and you know, but it's very unique to his style. There's nobody else that could do that, because that was him. And every artist trains to get their unique style, and then you can break the mold, you know, whatever you want. But you got to actually create a style that suits you, that is recognized. It's like Hellboy, right? Everybody knows Mike Mignola is Hellboy. Everybody knows Sin City, because as the moment you see it, you know it. It's like the Dark Knight, you know, from Batman. As soon as you see that that Batman, you know it's Frank Miller. And there's no way, you know, you could be, you know, anybody else could, you know, kind of claim it as theirs. And I think that's something that with technology, when we tell young people, it's like, you don't have to, like you're saying, don't have to be original. No, you have to be original to cut it, to make it to, you know, to be actually have something more than another name in the pot, you know, in the pond. So,
you start to talk about sort of AI and sort of how, you know, the danger that poses to artists, and like, you know, okay, AI, if you're original, they may be able to replicate your art. But if you're sort of the progenitor to a certain style, you know, and you know, some robot comes and copies you, it's like, well, you know, that's sort of how you combat that stuff. If you are drawing like everyone else, to the point where a robot can copy you, it's like, well, you know, well, I don't want to say it's okay, you know, but you get what I mean. Like that's how you combat that, is you be an original, you know, right? You make your own style, and
and I think that's something, you know, technology sort of loses out, because I mean, not loses out, but makes you cheat on. And I don't have a problem with technology, but I think if you rely on it too much, you'll end up, you know, just being another number of many. But I mean, you know, if you see, say, like, you know, Shane's work, it's Shane's work. That's his style, right? Even though he's done so much and has so many body of work all over the world, mind you, you know, paintings and everything. He's just got a unique style, and that's him, and you recognize his work. So if you come and see my ceramic, you'll know that's my ceramic. There's nobody else in the world that does it, because that's the way I work. And it's something like, even like tattoo work, like way back, like about, I guess about 95, 93 or 4, something like that, 1990s, when I was doing tattoo work, right, in tribal, like I said, you know, tribal. And I was trying to put together a calendar, which basically got lost over time and never actually ended up putting it together. But I had like about, you know, all this work for it, but it was my own style. I wasn't copying anybody. I was just taking what I thought. I would mesh all the everything I learned about Pacific, you know, Pacific art styles, Celtic art style, North American, South American, actually, yeah, South American, Mayan, you know, North America, Canada. All this stuff was coming in, and I'm going, how would I try to tribalize that? And that's what became what I call my own neo-tribal art. And that is just, you know, working until it feels like it's a technical version of a primitive artwork, right? And so there isn't any, you know, it's all about squares, and it's all about pyramids. It's all about sharp edges. It's not, and also, you know, it's a mixed mash of edges and you know, rectangles and stuff. But then it's also horns, right? You like the waves, you know, the Korfai and the Koru, all that mixed in. And it's South Pacific. It's you know, it's Mayan and it's Celtic. It's all there. But that's my own unique style. And I think a lot gets lost when you don't search for your own style, and a lot gets misery. You know, you become quite miserable when you're trying to get to your style. And but I think a lot of people,
it's a hard road. It's a hard road. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're starting out, just go hard until you find, oh, I like this, and now you stay with that, and until you are happy with that, and then if you get bored with that, change. You know,
right?
Don't just keep changing. But once you find that style that you like, then stick with that. And then I think the thing is like, oh, I only do this, and then people won't like it because I only do this. No, people will like that, and if they like that style, then they'll like some more of it. And I think the fear is not to, they think you want to, artists kind of feel like, oh, you got to be stuck into this thing and got to do this all the rest of your life. No, you can do whatever you want,
Sure.
But have fun at it.
You got to ask yourself what you want out of your artwork, right?
Right.
If you want to be, you were talking to Tyler Carpenter the other day, and he was talking about, well, look, if you want results and you want to put a product out in the market and be successful, it is hard. Yeah. It's not easy, So and I mean, he's a really interesting character because he has sort of achieved the dream in the sense that he was a full-time artist, a full-time comic book artist, independent comic book artist. So he was sort of doing his own stories and putting them on Indiegogo and Kickstarter and what have you. And then he sort of discovered, well, maybe that's not my bag. I've got other priorities. I want to prioritize my family. But again, it's like, well, if you just want to have fun from your art, well, just have fun. Don't take it too seriously. So part of the fun is improving, I guess, for some people, but you're going to sort of expel some of the fun factor, I guess, if you are wanting to make it a business, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's you've got to ask yourself, what do you want, and how do you kind of incorporate your artwork or your art making into your life in a way that sort of makes you happy, or makes you fulfilled.